Yay! Okay, I think we are live, or we are going live. And my audio might be fucked. Nope. Nope, my audio is fucked. Yay! Okay, I don't know what's going on. Oh no, I do have audio. Okay, there we go. Now I think we're up. Uh, let's see. Survey says that we are. So, welcome everybody. Or at least welcome back if you're rejoining from just a short while ago. They've got a little bit more racing for you this afternoon. Excuse me for 1 second. I do have to re-invite one of our drivers, so we'll get to the actual lineup in just a second. Let me just find Vindovs, as we got somebody coming out of the pits. Where is the man? I will find his name eventually. It's on this list somewhere. There it is. All right. But yeah, welcome back to Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, Texas. Once again, a very rainy qualifying here, but still should be plenty of good racing. Kind of similar to how we saw in Group 2 earlier, as I see people now starting to trickle in. But should be a very interesting race. Of course, we have started going back to what we did, I believe, back in Season 5, which is true-to-life weather conditions, which is why you see such heavy rain in qualifying here. Of course, got 17 drivers lining up on the grid, so nice big grid here for round number 1, and plenty of drivers that can give a very good shot at scoring some very good points today. Again, going to be very, very challenging, especially in qualifying with these wet conditions. As well, the race going to be wet to dry, so going to be intermediate conditions for the most part. But of course, when that rain stops, it's going to be how quickly is this circuit going to dry out and allow those drivers to slap on a fresh set of slicks. But it is going to be Gawoon Jamie who will be going at the first qualifying lap of Season 7 here in Group 1. And of course, got one of the 2 DRS zones in clear weather. Of course, you got the run all the way up the hill, hard braking. Got to make sure you really don't lock up after that big climb. And of course, up over the top of the hill, very tight, tightens very quickly. So got to be very careful at turn 1. Of course, turn 2, even in these wet conditions, pretty close to flat. And then you come into this S section, very undulating, very technical, and really going to show what setups each of our drivers have gone for. As I realize I don't have time up. I am prepared. Of course, you want to really try and be careful with traction as you come up over the hill. That car gets really, really light, but very important coming down into the hairpin, which I believe is now turn 10 or 11. I should probably pull the track map up, but we're going to do this on the fly, because fuck it, I do it live. Then, of course, you got the long blast. In dry conditions, this is going to be DRS zone number 2, going to be approaching speeds of probably around 190 miles an hour. Again, that's in full dry trim. And of course, very hard braking zone down here. Probably the best overtaking spot on the circuit is that left-hander there, as Gawoon Jamie runs a little bit wide. Doesn't invalidate, so is going to get that lap in. But of course, there's some of the struggles of these full wet conditions out on circuit at the moment. Of course, you got another kind of technical section right here, that double left-hander. You could see some lunges up the inside there in Sector 3, and you now have the Istanbul-style triple right-hander as you descend the hill into the penultimate 2 corners in front of the pit lane. Definitely keep an eye on track limits out here during the race. As here comes Gawoon Jamie, a little wiggle there out of the penultimate corner and into the final corner. Gawoon Jamie, of course, we saw a mistake down at that hard braking zone. It's a 150.8 for Gawoon Jamie to start with, and of course time's going to continue to fall. James Senna with a 151.728. It's going to be CPL Jordan coming to the line next. That's a 155.6 for the Aston driver. IRT Gurnham, meanwhile, in that Red Bull, puts in a 153.760, so just a shade behind Senna. Vindos, meanwhile, up in that first sector. Of course, we're used to seeing him in Group 2. He's making his Group 1 debut in that Haas, stratting actually with a 49.880, so a big lap time from the Red Bull early on. Of course, we'll have to wait and let's see how that continues to be affected. Bono goes 5th fastest for Haas. Let's see, there's a Ferrari coming to the line next. That is going to be AMS Tano, big Season 2 champion. He'll come to the line, and he'll steal pole possession to 149.482. So Tano already off to a flying start. We've seen him win championships before. We've seen him battle with the likes of Betham, of the likes of Mango, on back full time once again to get a shot at this Group 1 title. I think we'll just call, I believe his name in our Discord at least is Fortuna. In that second Aston, goes 4th quickest, so a good time from him to start us off. Vindovs, meanwhile, in that final sector, coming through the final couple of corners now. Of course, very quick racer, him and Alexis, both moving up. Again, a little bit of a wiggle out of that penultimate corner. We're going to see drivers really flirting with the track limits out there. Out of the final corner into the line. Looks to be a decent lap time. It's good enough for P6. So Vindovs running solid early and immediately places that Haas up in P6. And of course, you're going to want to run a good chunk of back-to-back laps to try and keep those tires in the right operating window. I think a number of drivers, though, going to want to box in at about the midway point of qualifying. As Jordan joins his teammate up in the top 5, he jumps up into P4 with a 150.591, so a good lap time there from him. I believe it's the Williams of Gaming James coming to the line next. That lap time good enough for P2, so Gaming James picks up a 1.5 seconds there as we cross the 11-minute mark, and could be the one taking the fight to Tano, but a number of drivers still without times on the board as it stands. Ozan is in one of them, as is Thomas D. Alexis Beast as well, last season's Group 2 champion in that Mercedes, going to be driving with Tommy XXC. Was that number 58? Almost a big incident there for the Brit. But here we come out of the final corner now. Alexis Beast coming to the line. Respectable time. That puts him P8, so just behind Gawoon Jamie at the moment. As a couple of other drivers looking to come to the line. Lurka jumps right up into P2 with a 149.550. So a number of drivers now starting to climb those rankings as times start to fall. VDV Ali, meanwhile, up almost a second through the first 2 sectors of his lap. Here he comes out the final corner now. Where will the McLaren driver put his car as he comes to the line? That lap time good enough to split the Aston Martins and land him in P6. Vindo's, meanwhile, up 0.5 seconds, so that will bump his time right up to the top. So let's see, can the Haas driver make that jump up the order? He can. He'll jump right up into P5, so rather respectable there with a 150.1. We'll just see times really continue to fall throughout this session. Thomas D, meanwhile, going to dive into the pits. Let's see if anybody else is on a lap. I believe it's an Alfa Romeo and an Aston Martin to come to the line next. Jordan is comfortably up on his time. The car ahead of him was Senna, who didn't really improve. Jordan, though, jumps ahead of Vindovs and up into 5th. Still a 0.5 seconds off of that pole position time, or that provisional pole time currently set by Tano, but certainly a good time nonetheless. It's one of the Williams behind him, I believe, Gaming James, who's looking to get that lap set up. There's to see a couple more people joining the chat, so hopefully you are doing well. Definitely be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Helps us continue to grow the league. And I actually don't think I introduced myself. I'm Vacant Haddock, one of the commentators and the group manager here in Group 1. If you are new, as Gaming James had shown some nice drifting skills there, but that's not quite what you want to be doing. But definitely looks very, very cool. So that's the only counter argument there, is it looks cool. And so here comes a couple of drivers to the line. The Aston of Double A going to jump his teammate up into P5, so a good lap there from him as AlphaTauri gets up and out of the way. Of course, getting to the end of this game cycle, so definitely going to be interested to see how F1 24 is. So definitely, if you're interested in either jumping in as a reserve now, of course, F1 24 is free on the PlayStation Store at the moment, so long as you have PS Plus, which I assume you do. But of course, definitely, if you're interested in jumping in, we have tiers for a whole ton of drivers, as well as for Gran Turismo, if you're interested in that, which those leagues will be starting up next week. So we have a GT3 kind of sprint sprint series, as well as a multi-class series. And Alexis Beast, with a good lap early, he's up about 3.5 tenths at the moment, as I think a number of drivers doing their in-laps now that were at the midway point with about, or just a little bit past it actually, with about 7.5 minutes left to go in the session. And here comes Alexis Beast. Of course, Sector 2 doesn't end on that straight. It just ends outside of this left-hander. And of course, as he comes through the spray, let's see where the Mercedes sits. Only about a tenth up, so it looks like a decent bit of time lost in that middle sector comparatively. Also may have backed off a little bit just to try and get around and in. I believe it's a Red Bull coming to the line. That's Stratting just starting a lap. We'll see if he'll improve from P4. Just like in Group 2, which happened just a little while ago. We saw him take pole, so we'll see if he can replicate that. But of course, fell back a little bit once we got into race conditions, so we'll see how that continues. And definitely be sure to go give that Group 2 stream a watch as Tano pushes that pole time even further. That's a 1:49.050 for the Ferrari. I know, yeah, of course, after this stream, I definitely go give that Group 2 video, or that Group 2 stream VOD a watch. Definitely was a good one to take part in. You know, it was very enjoyable to drive outside of the little bit of technical issues that we had early on. Definitely a good result as well. As Stratting has invalidated a number of drivers starting to make outlaps now. Let's see, I believe that was, yeah, I believe got a couple drivers making in-laps. Lofty Pickle, who we'll just call Pickle, currently sitting 13th, one of the few drivers on an actual lap, as is Alexis Beast and Bono. Meanwhile, two drivers without times on the board right now, and one of them heading towards the wall, and I think lucky to still have his car. Tommy XXC with a big spin there, and that's on fresh, wet tires, so he'll have to kind of hustle that Mercedes back around now. 6 minutes left to go in qualifying. And he's going to have to recover that car. That was at turn 2. That was a pretty big slide, and almost out of the session. I'm not going to fault him too much for going ahead and cutting some of these S's, considering that Mercedes is going to be awful to drive in these wet conditions. That's probably the best way to do it with no other cars around. But of course, just waiting for a couple of drivers to make their ways around, and we've got a couple of people in chat there, so if you've got any predictions for this race, definitely feel free to put them in chat. I think based off this qualifying session, I think betting against Tano, probably a fool's errand. But of course, we'll have to wait and see, because there could be a lot of things that still happen in this race. We could have, safety cars at different phases. Of course, incidents, especially at turn 1 here, are far from out of the question. So still plenty of things that could happen. We'll stay on board with Thomas D, though, in that Alpine, as he makes his way through Sector 3. Of course, no time on the board as of yet. But here he comes into the final corner now. Of course, the last we'll see of this nicely colored Alpine, apart from the real-life one. Thomas D only good enough for P14 at the moment. Of course, would love it if Alpine had this much color on their actual car, but sadly they have as much paint on their car as points as they'll probably score this year, which is minimal. Which all you Alpine lovers out there can get mad at me all you want. You know I'm right. But yeah, plenty of time. Lurka, meanwhile, up. Actually, no, that was gaining a second on his previous lap time, so he's just getting back underway. So we'll stay on board with the Alfa Romeo, who currently sits in provisional P2, a little bit wide there at turn 1, and good bit of wheel spin under traction. May have backed off. Yeah, I think he backed off a little bit after that, going deep, and then trying to get, not quite getting it under traction. So a little bit of a commentator's curse there, as we've seen before. So we'll instead jump down to Jordan, who's, actually we'll jump over to Vindovs, who is down through the first sector by about a quarter of a second, of course, but is up, what I believe is a personal best middle sector. Of course, definitely with my setup, definitely could have it a bit better. But the Haas on a good time right now, and of course we'll jump back to Jordan at the end of Vindov's lap. But Vindov's very quick driver. Of course we'll have to wait and see. Definitely had some really nice battles with him and Alexis in Season 6 in Group 2. So going to be very enjoyable to watch him go toe-to-toe with some of LSR's best this season. So here comes Vindovs out of the final corner. Can he improve from P7 at all? No, not quite. Lost a bit of time in that middle sector. And, of course, going to keep pushing with 2.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Make sure those tires are right in the window. Jordan, meanwhile, matched his lap time. Matched his first time in Sector 1 to the end of Sector 2. And he's up a 10th.5. So both Aston Martins doing very well so far. Potentially looking to have themselves a solid shot at a potential Constructors' Championship run. And of course, here he comes out of those corners now. Of course, again, that triple right-hander, you don't need to hit the brakes on it in these wet conditions. Really just need a lift. But still, if you're don't get it quite right, could very easily lose that back end. And here comes Jordan out of the final corner. Looks to be a really solid lap time for the Aston. He's actually going to jump all the way up into P2. And with still time to go, Jordan potentially now with a shot at provisional pole. And we'll of course, have to see what Tano can say about it. As a number of drivers on laps. Thomas D down. Gurnham, meanwhile, gaining about 7/10 there. So good improvement from the Red Bull. Of course, he currently sits P15 and is going to have to go now as he is now on his final lap. So we'll keep an eye on him. But yeah, all these drivers are going to be setting up for final laps, and they're going to be led by Ozan, who jumps up into P7. So picks up about 4.5 tenths there for AlphaTauri. And of course, Vindoz, meanwhile, leading this train a little bit further behind, is on a push lap. And once again, is up through those first two sectors. Can he get around to set another lap, as that's a Mercedes getting out, yellow flags for a Mercedes getting out of the way. 1 minute left to go, so everybody's starting laps now. Will not have a chance to set another. Here comes Vindovs out the final corner. Currently sits P8. Where can he jump up to? He will not improve. Lost a solid chunk of time in that final sector. VDV Ali going to be pushing behind him as a number of drivers getting underway. So I believe, yeah, we'll stay on board with Gurnham in the Red Bull. Up a lot through that first sector, 3/10, and he comes up to that Sector 2 marker. He's up 2/3 of a second. So Gurnham in that Red Bull flying a little bit deep there, though, so that's going to lose him a big chunk of time. Of course, we'll have to see how much that impacts him. And again, really struggling with traction, so those wet conditions seem to really catch him out as, just about 15 seconds left to go. So Gurnham should be first across the line. We'll see if the Aston Martin ahead of him can get to the line to start his final flying lap. I think he will, as Pickle out of the session, and Gurnham invalidates. So that's going to be his qualifying session over. Jordan did not get to the line, so his lap time will put him in third, I believe, unless he just finished his lap. So we'll jump down to that Alfa Romeo. That is Senna, who is down. He will not improve from a starting position of P11. Ozan, meanwhile, coming through the final couple of corners, down 2/10 through the first two sectors. Can he pull out any magic in this final sector? Here comes Ozan to the line now. Where can the Turk at his AlphaTauri no better than 7th? Going to be a Haas to the line next. It's going to be Bono. He will not start better than 16th. Behind him is one of the Red Bulls. That is R. Stratting, who is not able to improve. So he will start no better than 6th. I believe that's Vindal spinning in the background in his push lap. Hopefully that didn't hold up Ali too much. But here comes a McLaren driver. And of course that could be a mistake from Vindovs. That could have lost him a position to Ali, who seems to be right on the pace with him. Here comes the McLaren to the line. I believe that's a Williams behind him. Ali not able to improve. He'll start 9th. Gaming James, meanwhile, puts in a lap time that sets him 2nd. So he'll start on the front row unless anybody can do anything about it. Here comes Gawoon Jamie's Alpine. He's up 4/10 through 2 sectors. Can he pull out anything in the third and final sector? Here he comes out of the final corner. Power down and to the line. He'll jump BDV Ali for 9th. Let's see, who else is coming to the line? Alexis dives into the pits. Thomas D, Jamie's Alpine teammate, is going to start 13th. I believe that was the Aston of Fortuna coming to the line. He'll start 5th. Vindal is, of course, still struggling and just trying to stay out of the way. But we'll jump to Tano, who has that provisional pole and will retain it. As Lurka comes to the line, he'll start 4th. So Tano, Gaming James, Jordan, Lurka, and Fortuna are your top 5 for the race here in Austin. So, of course, going to have 28 laps of action here. And, of course, going to be wet to dry. So we're going to see all types of tires used today. We'll see the slicks we'll see the green walled inters, and of course we've already seen the blue walled wets. So of course we'll just have to wait and see how it is. But it's going to be Ferrari on pole here in Austin, Texas, as Tana looks to extend his dominance over Group 1. Yeah, 149.050. So so a bit over a tenth there. But good to see there. And Vindovs did a 49.0 but invalidated. So definitely keep an eye on him to potentially get a run at other laps. But of course, going to have a countdown here. But yeah, luckily no grid penalties, but a good chunk of field spread, exactly 3 seconds actually, down to Bono in 17th, which is always which is always nice and satisfying to see. But yeah, it is going to be Tano taking pole position from the Brit and the 2 Swedes and the Ukrainian. So yeah, 28 laps of racing action. Of course, want to see it clean, hopefully. But yeah, probably going to be looking at a 1 to 2 stop race. I think, especially considering Group 2, you can really. I'd say that the 1 stop and the 2 stop are about even in terms of strategy, because those inters can certainly last you an entire 50% race if you need to try and make them. But of course, the challenging part is how much pace do you lose as those tires continue to wear. Because that's going to be something that we really have to consider. Because, I believe the rain is projected to stop about 2/3 in. So do you want to do, a third of the, do you want to split that rain period on 2 sets of inters? Or do you think you have enough pace, you can keep enough life in those tires, and keep your nose out of trouble and just kind of have your own race up at the front? And just, make those inters last very, very comfortably. It's going to be really interesting to see, especially from our front runners. And I think that mid-pack is going to be very, very interesting as well, as people potentially look at those alternate strategies. And, of course, we'll have to see how that goes. Of course, drivers, I believe, just getting their strategies set. So just listening for that tone to count us down now. We should get underway. 1, and there we go, 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we're underway here in Austin, Texas. Seems to be a good getaway from everybody. Tano going to cover off that Williams immediately, so Gaming James going to have to switch back to the outside, and Tano holds on to that lead through turn 1 as everybody makes their way up the hill, and 2 and 3 wide. And as they make their way over and through the spray, Ozan's gained a couple of spots. It seems that everybody through okay, as here they come through the S's, a bunch of cars scrambling, but seemingly everybody through. Is a big pack there, as almost 3 wide through the S's. Vindos has to check up, as I think Stratting went a little bit wide, as they're 2x2 here in the S's in Sector 1. A little bit of wheel banging, but seemingly everybody going to make it out okay, and Vindos going to be able to get ahead of Jamie. So definitely good to see that level of racing in these very challenging conditions, as cars going all over the place to try and hold positions. 2x2 again. Then, 2x3 there. As you might be confused, thinking this is a little bit of a NASCAR race with how close the pack is. The Astons as well with a great start. Gaming James looking to make a move there on Tano, but not quite able to get it done as the Ferrari defends. But here comes Gaming James with a little bit of another move. Tano going to defend the inside, though. As here he comes, Gaming James around the outside. He's going to hold it in the inside for this double left-hander, which is where you want to be. But Tano's going to put the pinch on him, and then he's going to have to run wide. So who's going to have it as we make our way into this triple right, as the leaders still side by side? Gaming James holds onto it for a moment, and he is going to retain the lead here on lap 1. So the Williams gains that position. So a great move there from the Williams, and great battling as yellow flag in Sector 3. That's Gurnham out of the race. That's a multi-car incident. Gurnham out. I think there was contact there, potentially with Thomas, and that's going to bring out an early safety car. But yeah, not sure entirely what happened there. Bono going to dive into the pits, but that safety car out immediately. And everybody going to group up behind it. But Gaming James James very solid there on lap 1, was able to take the lead as we had our eyes on that battle. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happened there. But yeah, of course, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we'll have a couple laps now under safety car. Of course, taking a look at that tire strategy now. Of course, we'll look at position changes in a second. Yeah, of course, we'll have to wait and see it. This does seem like Thomas was involved there with that wreck with Gurnham. So yeah, definitely very questionable there, and we'll definitely keep an eye on how that continues. Yeah, we'll take a look at some of the position changes off the start. Gaming James and Tano, of course, swapping places. Fortuna gaining a spot as well. Fortuna and Lurka swapping spots as well. Same with Ozan and Stratting. So just a bunch of position swaps all over early on. And of course, we'll get back underway with a rolling start, lap 3 or so. Apologies real quick, just had to respond to something there. But yeah, definitely disappointing to see Gurnham go out the race that early. Does put us down to 16 drivers. Yeah, this Gaming James and Tano fight could be very, very interesting, especially with some of that racing that we saw early on. Very tight and wheel to wheel there. Of course, definitely need to have... definitely want to take a look at that footage, but if these drivers go hammer and tongs like that for the entire race, certainly hopefully they keep it clean. But of course, should be a very, very good race. As everybody behind the safety car now, so we should be on getting underway this lap. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as up over the hill he comes. But yeah, that's some of that battling in Sector 1 was definitely good to see as well. Definitely, especially when they're 2x3, when they're 2x3 like they were through that S section, especially in those wet conditions. Is a bunch of drivers having to check up now, and I saw an overtake there, so I wasn't sure if somebody spun. Okay, I don't know what Thomas is doing, but. I think he got an accidental... Okay, yeah, he accidentally gained that position there, so definitely was weird there. I think a little bit of miscommunication between the Haas and Alpine, but I think that position eventually given back. Definitely don't want to see that contact, though. A safety car in this lap, so Gaming James does have control, and we'll get back underway here on lap number 4. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on Gaming James and see when does he pull that trigger on that restart. Of course, Tano letting that pack kind of close up to him. Of course, going to have to wait until that safety car gets fully into the pit lane. But we'll stay on board with the Alpine and see when exactly he decides to go. Of course, still has to wait. Still keeping a rather pace that's rather close to that safety car, though. That's an spun Alpha Tauri of Ozan, I believe. I'm not sure whether Lurka is trying to give that position back or trying to catch back up. I think they're just trying to catch back up now. Yeah, Gaming James looking to get those tires into the right condition. I think Ozan potentially with a spin, so Lurka, Lurka or Ozan with a spin and potential illegal overtake there. But it looks like the Williams of Gaming James, gonna get us underway here in these next couple of seconds. Here he comes out of the final corner, and we're back to green flag conditions here in Austin. It seemed to be a good restart there from him as they're all single file, but here comes Tano to the inside. Jordan is there too, so potentially gonna have a three-way fight into turn one. Jordan on the outside, Tano gonna switch to the inside. Braver on the brakes, and Jordan goes into the, James goes into the back of him. Jordan cuts it back up the inside. Doesn't look like there was any damage on the Williams, but Tano with an aggressive move at turn one takes the lead, and here comes Jordan, who's also going to get Gaming James aims here. And actually, I think Gaming James, from the look of things, might have some front wing damage from going into Tano. I'm not sure if there was any contact from behind, or if he just thought Tano was going to go deeper. But it seemed that Williams went right into the back of the Ferrari. But of course, as they all filtered down into there, Stratting going to be able to put a nice move there on Lurka. He's going to be down the inside now, so the Red Bull finding another position. Big twitch there for the Alpine. That's Gawoon Jamie, who's now going to be under pressure from Tommy XXC. But Tano now starting to make a bit of a breakaway. He's got that gap up to about 8/10, and that's even without using any overtake buttons. So potentially that Ferrari very good now that those tires are up to temperature. And of course got that football helmet on. So we'll have to see how that goes as he makes his way through Sector 2. And of course Jordan now looking to potentially put a fight to him. And of course we'll have to kind of wait and see how that continues. That's, I believe, Stratting under pressure from Lurka, of course holding off a number of cars behind him. Lurka and Gawoon Jamie behind him look to go side by side for a moment, but the Alpine, I think, just backing off briefly. And Jordan going to be the first recipient of a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Yeah, the Williams of Gaming James is going to dive into the pits, so I think front wing damage from going into Tano there. So definitely disappointing to see from the Williams, but of course he is going to have those fresh intermediate tires now, so that'll give him a chance to potentially try and bridge that gap now. But up at the front, Tano with a gap of over a second now. Of course, not going to matter for the moment, as no DRS for the time being. Of course, we'll have to wait and see just when that rain decides to let up. We got Tano from Jordan, from Fortuna, from Ozan early on now. Gawoon Jamie as well, I think dropped back down to P10, so potentially, I think, because I thought he was up battling Lurka, so potentially a bit of a mistake in that middle sector for the Alpine, but definitely seems to be right in the thick of this pack. Of course, still see a lot of spray coming off those tires. Is Gawoon Jamie going to look for a move down here into the hairpin? Going to be later on the brakes. VDV Ali going to give him space. Little bit of contact, but seemingly all good. And VDV Ali still going to be able to get on the power better, taking that outside line. Here comes the Alfa Romeo of Senna. Going to maybe look to box in the Alpine for a second. Looking to be 3 wide now as they make the run down into this hard braking zone. And is Gawoon Jamie going to be able to get the move done now? Yes, he will. So the Alpine up into P9, but VDV Ali not letting up that fight. He's going to look to the inside, but Gawoon Jamie able to get a good enough exit there that he's put his Alpine up a position. And there, and you also have Senna in the background. Brilliant little switchback there from the Alfa Romeo. Is going to make contact with the McLaren, though. Almost a great move there from Senna, who's actually going to lose an extra place to a Lexus Beast. So definitely almost a great move there from Senna. Very audacious. And so we'll have to wait and see how some of that continues. But up at the front, it is Tano now with a 1.3 second lead over Jordan and Fortuna. As we start lap number 6. Senna, meanwhile, able to find his way past Alexis Beast. That was on the pit straight. Alexis Beast, though, going to take a look back up the inside into turn 1. Is going to get that Mercedes stop nicely. A little bit of contact, though, and a little bit of EA collision physics is going to now give Pickled a shot to go and overtake Senna. So a little bit of contact there between Alexis Beast and Senna, and just a little bit of kind of netcode collision physics is going to allow that Ferrari to gain a place for the moment. Of course, his teammate currently leading this race. And of course, that's going to add stuff to the pile for Senna to try and combat. Meanwhile, VDB Ali is going to be our second recipient of a 3-second time penalty in this race. So the McLaren going to try to work that off. He does have a 1.5-second gap back to Alexis Beast for the moment, as Thomas D puts a move on Senna as well. So potentially Senna with front wing damage. Of course, definitely want to wait and see just how that is. Of course, the two going to go side by side here. We'll also jump up to Tommy XC and our Stratting. As Stratting having to, I think, back out of a move there. Potentially getting one done on Lurka, though. Of course, that Red Bull still going to be fighty. Of course, we saw him go for that two-stop in the Group 2 race earlier today, so we'll see if the Red Bull can make that work. Senna with a nice move there Senna with a nice move there on Thomas D. I think putting it up the inside like we saw him attempt to do on VDV Alley just a lap ago. Thomas D actually going to run wide there and receive his first 3-second time penalty of this race. Yeah, Jordan, meanwhile, has seemed to pick up that pace a little bit. Aston Martin, it seems to be really Jordan versus Tano now, but that gap down to about a second, so Jordan potentially finding his footing on those intermediate compound tires. Of course, does have that 3-second time penalty now, which Fortuna is right at about the limit. But then it's a decent bit back from the leaders, back to Ozan, of course, who does have Tommy XXC on him. And of course, we got a 5-way fight now for P4 on track. And then a bit of a gap back to Gwoon Jamie, who I think lost a little bit of time battling. So we'll stay on board with this, as we'll see if Ozan can potentially do any, see if he is able to defend as we come down this straight now. Of course, going to be tucked into that slipstream of the AlphaTauri ahead of him. But Ozan starting to seemingly pulling away a little bit. That gap at about 3.5 tenths. Meanwhile, behind, it's the Alfa Romeo of Lurka looking to make a move on our Stratting. And he is going to get that done, though. He is going to run a little bit wide in order to do it. Probably received a track limits warning for that, and our Stratting going to swoop right back around the outside and take that position right back for him. But that is going to let Tommy XXC now be a little bit more released from having to worry about the cars behind him, as he looks to potentially try to hunt Ozan back down. Meanwhile, up at the front, Jordan has really started to close that gap now, down to under a second. We saw it at about a second at the start of the last lap. He's taken about 0.3 of a second out of Tano's lap time now. So as those inners continue to start to get worn, lap 8 is where you'll probably see stuff start. Thomas D, though, out in the wall again. So I think another mistake there is going to rejoin in front of Gaming James and is going to run wide and get out of the way. So yeah, definitely disappointing for the Alpine. Jordan, meanwhile, looking to stay on the hunt. Tommy XXC we'll actually go over to... we'll go to penalties for the moment. Alexis Beast finding a way past Gwoon Jamie now. As the Mercedes getting that move done into the S's and gaining another position. Senna actually going to receive a time penalty. So yeah, I think Senna may have some damage there. Doesn't seem to be visual on that Alfa Romeo, but has seemed to drop off this pack a little bit. Pickle and Jamie, meanwhile, going to battle wheel to wheel. And Pickle going to look for the switchback here as we come on to the main straightaway. Tommy XXC, meanwhile, getting Ozan as we come down the straight. And there's a battle behind, too. Stratton going to squeeze Lurka all the way to the inside. Lurka, though, able to get that move done. Safety car is out. And that is for the Alpine without a front wing. So we'll definitely have to review that. Yeah, safety car number 2. Tommy XXC with a drive-through for speeding under safety car. So that's a big loss for the Mercedes, as he'll have to now serve that. Of course, definitely very disappointing there. Tano going to dive into the pits, as will Jordan. Fortuna going to follow his teammate into the pit. So we'll probably see a number of drivers now go for that fresh set of tires. Fortuna going to get a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits. I think potentially a lockup there. Tommy XXC will as well. So bad to worse for the Mercedes. He's actually going to just retire from the session outright. As a number of drivers now all slowing down. James gets a drive-through for speeding under safety car. But I think he just timed going into the pit lane a little bit late there. But the two Astons seemingly getting out of the pit lane. Okay, Ozan will stay in 4th. Stratton got a 5 seconds, but I think we'll stay in 5th. Lurka Vindos, Ali, Alexis Beast up into 9th now. Pickle in 10th, followed by Jamie. Of course, Senna is going to have that drive-through to serve now, followed by Bono, Gaming James, and then Thomas D making his way around into the pits. But yeah, are under a second safety car here in Austin, so we'll probably get underway in the next 2 laps. Of course, definitely going to be getting closer to the track drying out. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Of course, don't know exactly on time what we're looking at. Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at, was it? Oh, Vindov's with a big mistake there. He's on mediums. So I think he set that tire at the start of the race, thinking he would just take inners the whole way, and then just forgot to change it back as the Haas now on the what is definitely the wrong set of tire. As he's on those slicks when the rain's still coming down very heavily. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him dive into the pits now to get those tires changed. Definitely frustrating to see, definitely, I'm sure, frustrating for the Haas driver to see those yellow walled mediums on his car. Yeah, I think the track, rain's still definitely coming down fairly heavily, and I'd imagine we're seeing him dive into the pits now. To get off that set of mediums. We'll stay on board, see if he does. Potentially a strategy play from him, though I doubt it. I think we'll probably... Yeah, we will see him dive into the pits now. Of course, got to be careful, got to really tiptoe that, and really don't want to get a 5-second penalty here. He is going to get it stopped. So, Vindov's big mistake there, but he definitely has the pace to be able to fight it back. A brief little jump there. Hopefully that wasn't too bad in terms of lag. But should just be one more lap under safety car, and then we'll get back underway. We'll also take a look at penalties real quick. So a couple of recipients of 5-second time penalties. So Stratting, Lurka with 5, as is Fortuna. So that will all have to be served when and if they stop again. Meanwhile, Jordan, Ali, and Thomas, and I believe also Senna, with the exception of that drive-through, also has a 3-second time penalty. So still some stuff to go. Let's see, is the safety car in this lap? It will be. So this time we will see Tano leading the pack. Of course, he made a great breakaway early on those fresh intermediates. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, all drivers as well now going to be well within the limit for fuel. Or at least I'd assume they are. Tano actually going to be going nice and slow. And, it seems that Jordan really wants this to get underway. Senna and Bono trading places briefly. Of course, we'll have to wait and see there. Is Tano starting to pick up that pace a little bit now through this triple left-hander? Will he go similar to Jordan, kind of at the end, just right out of that left-hander as everybody lined up behind him? That safety car is in the pit, so we are ready to get back underway. And Tano still going to hold off. Let's see, still holding off. and we'll pull the trigger now. We're back underway to green flag conditions. The Aston Martin's immediately side by side, I think, for Jordan with a really poor jump. And the Aston's actually going to potentially put Tano into a little bit of a pincer, and I think a little bit of contact there, potentially between Lurka and Jordan as contact made, but seemingly everybody's still in the race. Ozan now going side by side as they make their way through Sector 1. Meanwhile, a little bit further behind, it's, Bono went wide, as did Lurka and Senna, so a bit of a horror show there for Alfa Romeo, but everybody else seemingly able to kind of keep it clean enough. Of course, Senna still with that drive through to serve, and I think Lurka potentially too late on the brakes, or potentially with some contact behind. Gaming James, meanwhile, gets past Gawoon Jamie. So, of course, he had to box for a fresh set of inters and a new front wing earlier on in the race. So that safety car definitely doing him wonders. He's back now up into P9. As they fan out down this back straight, no moves getting done as of yet. I think that McLaren of VDV Ali was looking to try and find a way past our Stratting, but that might actually open him up to a move from Alexis Beast, who had a peek up the inside. Is he going to try and find the switchback here? Trying to get back underneath him. They're, McLaren and the Mercedes still side by side, and I think VDV Ali able to win that fight. Jordan and Ozan, meanwhile, going side by side into the triple right-hander. Is the Aston Martin is going to hold on to that position. So Jordan definitely didn't get the greatest of restarts, of course, losing out to his teammate and then going deep. But a good move there to boost him back up. Gaming James, meanwhile, able to make a nice little move on Pickle into the penultimate corner. Gawoon Jamie looking to take advantage too, but not quite able to make something work. Of course, Tano now with the new fastest lap of the race here on lap number 12. Of course, as they come up over the hill, that gap sitting at about a second. Is meanwhile able to get a nice move onto Thomas into turn 1. Thomas looking for that cutback, but not comfortable enough under power. Bono going to retire from the session in the pits. But yeah, so that's going to be another DNF there. And of course, both Alfa Romeos diving in the pits. One did get, I believe, some damage fixed. The other to serve their drive-through. So now it's going to be the kind of a front 12 now, kind of all in a bit of a train. Of course, a bit of a gap between Tano and Fortuna and Jordan and Ozan. But behind that battle really heating up. Williams and Gaming James looking to make a move on Alexis Beast, who goes defensive into that turn. But can Gaming James potentially get the better exit here right on the back of that Mercedes gap under 0.2 of a second. So here comes Gaming James. He's going to take a look to the inside of that Mercedes. Alexis Beast going to give him the squeeze to the inside. Of course, going to bounce back to the racing line. Later on the brakes, though, is Gaming James. Alexis Beast still there, though. Is going to be run a little bit wide, but Gaming James going to take P7 away. And Alexis Beast potentially can fight him back. Jordan, meanwhile, is a recipient of another 3-second time penalty. Of course, starting at lap number 13 now. So definitely just keeping an eye on that rain. Definitely seems, skies definitely start to seem to be lightening up just a shade. Of course, that rain's still falling, but you can see as you make that run up the hill into turn 1, definitely seems to be a little bit lighter. Ozan, meanwhile, still leading our Stratting in that battle for P4, as these two have been very tight for a lot of the race. Yeah, as they make their way through the S's, very tight as well behind between Ali and Gaming James. So Gaming James showing a lot of pace now that he's gotten back up into this fight. Of course, the Williams right on the gearbox of the Mercedes. We saw him get past Alexis in a rather similar fashion just a little while ago as Pickle is our next recipient of a time penalty. Gaming James looking to the inside as they run in, but again, just looking to probably try and get that exit. He's going to, once again, just swap that Mercedes for that papaya-colored car, and here we go, down, and once again, Gaming James to the inside and through rather comfortably this time, gets past VDV Ali, now has the chance to go after Stratting and Ozan. Much more comfortable move than the last time, and also Vindov's finding a way past Gawoon Jamie. Up the front, though, Tano starting to, make that gap bigger and bigger, up to 2.5 seconds now. And, of course, both drivers behind with time penalties, so that's something else to consider. Gaming James, though, once again, right on the back of our Stratting, is going to actually run a little bit wide down the pit straight. Hopefully didn't get a warning for that, but he's going to easily find a way through. I believe that was Thomas D spinning in the background, so he's going to lose a whole chunk of time, and that's going to bring out another safety car? How does that bring out a safety car? I know the safety car is on reduced, so I don't know why that would be brought out for that. Fortuna gets a drive-through for speeding under safety car. Is definitely easy to do in the wet, but yeah, that's more front wing damage on the Alpine. So another driver that gets a penalty because of that. So at the halfway point, another safety car. Oh, are we still alive? We are still alive. Okay. For some reason, on my own, I wasn't sure. Yeah, of course, under safety car once again, and this, of course, will give Senna and Lurka another shot, but definitely is a bad deal for Fortuna. Of course, going to be waiting to see just what happens here. But I'm actually going to go steal a drink real quick. So if you'll just excuse me, I will be right back. Alright, so I am back in... Tano's in 8th. Did he pit? I think Tano pit there, as did Fortuna, so I think a couple of drivers pitting. Yeah, I think a couple of drivers opting to pit. What tires did they go for? Pickle is going to retire. Pickle is out. That is certainly confusing. Where is the Ferrari? Yeah, I think he just retired. He retired manually. Okay, well, I don't know what happened to Pickle, but he is out. Senna, meanwhile, going to be brave here. He's going to go for the mediums. So how close are we to dry conditions? Just from the look of things, we're definitely not there yet. But I assume if Senna is willing to risk it, we must be getting close. As his teammate Alerka as well, going to opt for slicks. So could this be an Alfa Romeo master plan here? But yeah, Tano boxed, as did Fortuna, Alexis, and Thomas. Actually, they're actually going to swap places briefly there. But yeah, a couple of drivers opting for new inters here under the safety car. And so potentially just looking for that extra pace. And I think that, was there contact there between Alexis and Fortuna? There was. Alexis has damage. Alexis has front wing damage. What happened? Okay, so a little bit of chaos here under the safety car. And of course, we are going to have at least one more lap now. So we'll just have to see what happens. But it is going to be Jordan leading from Ozan, Gaming James, and R Stratting. So Gaming James, just after getting that damage on that first restart, has now been put in a great position where I think he is definitely as fast as Jordan and should be able to clear Ozan fairly comfortably, I would imagine. Alexis is going to dive into the pits for a new front wing. So we'll jump on board with the Mercedes, see what tire he's opting for. I believe that's another set of intermediates. He is going to change that front wing. Yeah, it is going to be intermediates on the Mercedes car to see out the rest of this. And of course, we do have Lurka back here trying to work those mediums. But yeah, still haven't tipped it around, but the rain has stopped. So it is no longer raining. So that's a potentially great move for Senna, who should be able to pull up to the back of this field. The track, of course, only going to continue to get drier as we continue. But just how fast that track dries out is the question here. I'd imagine it's still going to be a couple of laps before we hit the point where those slicks are the better tire. Of course, we'll have to see on this restart if anybody decides to dive into the pit lane. Yeah, of course, just waiting on the Alfa Romeos now. Senna, of course, coming up to the back. And just, of course, waiting on Lurka now. So we'll get back underway either this lap or the next. But the Alfa Romeos might actually be in one of the better positions of this field. As again, that rain has stopped. So it is no longer raining. And if the safety car is extended by another lap, of course, Lurka still 20 seconds back of the field at the moment. And making his way down. It'll be, I believe, it will be 12 to go as we cross the line. So are we going to get back underway this lap? I don't think we will, as we've hit Sector 3, so it'll depend when Lurka comes up to the back. And definitely keep an eye on all these drivers and see if they decide to dive into the pits now for slick tires. We'll stay on board with the leader. Is anybody going to dive in? The leader is in, and here comes the scramble. There's contact behind. They're 3 wide. VDV Alley gets a penalty for corner cutting as they were 3 wide at the pit lane entry. And this is going to be great for the Alfa Romeos. Fortuna stays out, but lots of chaos, lots of contact as everybody dives into the pits. But it is going to be Senna now who should take the lead on slick tires. Ozan opts for soft. Tano goes for soft. And how are they all going to filter out? It's going to be Ozan, still from Gaming James, Vindos in 6th. Actually, Lurka is going to stay out and take 4th as everybody dives in for fresh sets of tires. With the exception, of course, of Fortuna, who's still on those inters on now a very, very dry track. Oh, nope. There we go. So, yeah. Dry running now from here to the end, so we'll have 11 laps of dry running. And Senna now, in arguably the best spot, Gaming James, potentially having to take evasive action there. Does get a 3-second time penalty. Ali, I don't know what VDV Ali is doing there, but goes around Gawoon Jamie. So potentially he feels miffed, and he feels like he should have P10. Actually, no, that was a Lexus Beast, sorry. But of course, he is now net P10 on track. R-stratting, I think, now dropped all the way down to 13th. So because I think he got spun in some of that chaos. He was really late. He did choose to pit very, very late there, and I think just got spun in the chaos. So I think it's going to come down to a racing incident there, I would assume. The safety car now in this lap, so Fortuna is going to have control. But he'll probably dive into the pits now. And, of course, I believe does have that drive-through as well. He does, so that is probably going to be the end of Fortuna's race. We'll see what he can do for his teammate of Jordan. But it is going to be Senna leading the way. The Alfa Romeo is playing a very nice strategy, opting for slicks early on. Of course, those tires are going to be a couple of laps older than everyone around them. But, of course, being under safety car might not prove as much of a factor. So we'll see if Fortuna dives into the pits here just immediately. He may just be holding that pack back and just going to dive into the pits here. So we'll see if he takes the lap or if he dives into the pits. I'd be very surprised if he takes this lap. He's actually going to take the lap. So potentially could be a spanner But here comes, as we get back to green flag running, and Fortuna going to defend immediately, looking to break that toe. Stratton going to retire from the session. Fortuna defending very aggressively, and Senna is going to take the lead now. So the Alfa Romeo takes the lead. Fortuna going to give way to his teammate as Senna takes the lead here on lap number 18. Lurka also having to take evasive action to try and get around that car on intermediates. There's Tano looking to make a move up the inside of Gaming James. That pack really fanning out and trying to find their way past the Aston Martin. Lots of contact, a little bit down there at the bottom of your screen between Alexis and Vindovs, who had a little bit of a wiggle. Here comes Gaming James to the inside. He is going to get that move done rather comfortably. And here comes the pack now on Fortuna, who's going to lose a bunch of positions to Ozan and Tano. As now Gaming James blasting down this front straight. Jordan, meanwhile, takes the lead from Senna as we make our way down the pit straight. I think Vindovs has damage. Does Vindovs have front wing damage? Because he seems to be really struggling right now. As Thomas D seems to turn in on him there. Alexis Beast having to run very, very wide. But yeah, a bit of a scramble here in the early stages of the safety car restart as everybody tries to get around Fortuna. There's Alexis Beast to the outside. Contact! And Fortuna goes into Alexis Beast, who does get spun. I think that's another... so definitely disappointing to see there from Alexis Beast. I think that car is going to get back underway and will be continuing without a safety car. But it is going to be Jordan taking the lead. He'll hold it from Senna, Larka, and then Tano and Gaming James going to be looking to hunt him down. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on these drivers here as they look to make their way. Now with 10 laps left to go. Jordan, though, making a bit of a breakaway. He's got a 1.7, 1.8 second gap as Lurka actually going to, I think, be let through by Senna. Here comes Tano and Gaming James now. So both drivers really on the hunt to try and catch and pass Jordan. Of course, everybody now in that top 6 with time penalties. Tano making that move look very easy as they make their way into Sector 3 now. And, of course, going to be looking to pick off the other one now, too. Thomas D is spun in the back there. Fortuna. And that's going to be a virtual safety car as he's lost his front wing again. So that's 3 front wings gone off Thomas D's car. And this one seems to have just been by likely going into the back of somebody, if I were to assume. So that's another front wing gone on that Alpine. So we're definitely going to have something to review there. Is the fact that you have to go through 3 front wings like this. It definitely needs to be reviewed. Is DRS now enabled? He is going to dive into the pits, and so that'll, Fortuna, of course, still on those inters. I think just waiting for a safety car. Gaming James as well, able to get a move done on those Alfa Romeos, who might have been caught a little bit napping. And so now it's Jordan, Tano, and Gaming James in the lead. And of course, it is still Tano net on time with that 3 seconds. So we'll have to see if Tano can close that gap. Of course, time penalty still could be a factor. We'll have to wait and see. But a tight pack there towards the rear. Goon Jamie right on the tail of this field. Thomas D, 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit. So not the first time he's done that, clearly. As you generally just get a warning for that. But that is impressive. As Gaming James looking to make a move down the outside of Tano. Tano, though, going to be later on the brakes, able to defend the Ferrari, holding off the Williams for the moment. Of course, this is going to play into the hands of Jordan. Of course, Gaming James did have the advantage of DRS there, so potentially that almost making the move done. And of course, Tano going to be wanting him to kind of continue. Thomas D is going to retire from the session, and that is a safety car. I don't think Thomas D will be driving in Group 1 anymore, to say the least. But yeah, that is shocking. Yeah, that's just shocking. VDV Alley out the session. Yeah, that's shocking. Everybody gonna dive into the pits. But yeah, that's shocking. And I don't think he'll be returning. Yeah, should be getting back underway now shortly. Of course, 9 cars left. A couple of drivers with penalties. Jordan now up to 11 seconds. But, yeah, should hopefully get to the end of this race. Yeah, should be getting back underway now, and we're out in the sun here in Austin. So, out now in the Texas sunshine, and we'll get back underway this next lap. So it'll be 6 to go, and hopefully we can make it to the end. Actually, yeah, I don't know. I'll figure that out. But yeah, safety car in this lap, so it'll be Senna leading the way now. But yeah, it's probably going to be between Jordan, Tano, and Gaming James. As Senna keeping it nice and slow. Tano looking to get underway. He's going to go out to the outside. Yeah, looking to get back underway now. And here we go into the final corner. So where will Senna elect to go? He'll go now. Of course, just as a heads up for next weekend, as everybody fans out, Ozan actually having to drop well back. Here comes Fortuna to the inside. Tano going to swap all the way around to the outside. Looks to go around the outside and turns right in on the Alfa Romeo. And is going to spin him. So Tano just chopped right in on Senna, who is going to drop all the way down the order. So yeah, it is going to be now Jordan with 11 seconds. Gwen Jamie's made his way up to 4th, so the reigning Group 1 champion with a pretty good race. As they come up over the hill and into the braking zone here for the first time in the sunshine, it is going to be about a 0.6 of a second gap. Bindo's, meanwhile, up into 7th, so a nice race from him. But yeah, Jordan is going to set a new fast lap, and it's half a second back to Tano. Yeah, 5 laps of racing left to go. And Gwoon Jamie, the reigning champ, could be, it's kind of really between him and Fortuna at the moment, unless Tano and Gaming James can make a bit of a getaway. Of course, still need to create that 3-second gap over the next 5 laps. Still lots of racing left to go. I apologize. Have a little bit of a headache. What is it? So, the energy has decreased a little bit. But yeah, personally, I'm a little bit spent. So yeah, got a little bit of a headache. So going to be a little bit lower energy for the rest of this race. Gaming James looking to make a move, but not quite able to find a way by. Is Spindobs able to move up into P6? Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on Tano and Gaming James and that gap back to Gwoon Jamie and Fortuna, as well as potentially Vindovs, if he can potentially close that. As Jordan sets a new fast lap of the race. Of course, that 11 seconds on Jordan is going to be a big loss at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, 4 laps to go now, and we'll see how much can Tano and Gaming James build that gap, because it's currently, Ozan also is a recipient of a 3-second time penalty, but currently that gap from Tano back to Jamie is sitting at about 2.4 seconds, so Tano needs another 0.6 over these last couple of laps in order to secure that potential win. Same thing with Gaming James, too, as with just a couple laps left to go, it's really down to the Ferrari, the Williams, the Alpine, or the Aston Martin to try and win this race. Here comes Tano on Jordan. Not going to look to get that move done, though. Close that gap up to 2/10, so he's right on the rear wing of that Aston Martin. Lurka getting the move done on Ozan as well, a little bit further down the order. But yeah, as they make their way through Sector 3 now, Jordan's starting to pull a little bit of that gap. So Aston potentially running a little bit more downforce. Also that kind of dirty air behind him potentially allows him to bridge that gap just a little bit more. As Jordan actually going to receive another 3-second time penalty for track limits. Of course, DRS wide open now. Here they come down the pit straight. And that gap now continuing to grow. So Tano and Gwoon Jamie Oh, actually, Tano into the back of the Aston Martin. So Jordan, I think, just potentially having to be a little bit earlier on the brakes, and Tano just kind of went into the back of him. Jordan also now out of ERS, and that also puts Gaming James right up Tano's gearbox. Seemingly no damage on the front wing of the Ferrari, but seems to be okay as they make their way through the S's. Even if Tano run a little bit wide there, he is going to have DRS advantage now. We'll have to wait and see. So DRS going to once again open up on the Ferrari. Can he get the move done now? It is going to pretty much come down to Tano or Gaming James. DRS open on both cars. Gaming James going to go to the left immediately. Tano to the right. Gaming James actually going to take the inside and the lead here on lap 26. Jordan, though, still wants a word, still wants to stay in this race. Gaming James, though, takes the lead here with 3 to go. So they've both cleared that Aston Martin. Fortuna as well was able to get that move done on Gwoon Jamie. So he's up into 4th. Now, can Gaming James hold off the charge of Tano? Vindov's recipient of a 3-second time penalty, so that pretty much puts him out of contention for better than 6th as it stands. As Jordan once again running a little bit wide there in the background. Yeah, DRS going to be once again open on the back of Jordan's Aston Martin. As here they come up the hill. The Ferrari going to look for a move here? Not quite. He is going to look to carry, once again, a bit more speed through turn 1, but just has to back it up a little bit. As Gaming James a little bit slower through there, and into the S's, that gap. Sitting at about 0.3 of a second. 2 to go now, so seemingly going to come down to these last couple laps is Jordan falling off the back now, so that will officially make it a 2-car race. Of course, Fortuna still in it, potentially looking to try and give his teammate the win here with a little bit of DRS assistance. As that Aston Martin right on the back. Gwoon Jamie still in it, of course, but now that's going to form a little bit of a DRS train. As now it becomes, once again, how much of a gap can they build? Because now that gap down to about 2.5 seconds, so Gaming James still needs half a second if he wants a chance to win this race. Fortuna going to defend on Gwoon Jamie, who's going to look around the outside. The Aston around him late on the brakes, going to lock up a little bit. So Gwoon Jamie looking to make that cutback and go around the outside, still wheel to wheel. And Fortuna going to hold off Gwoon Jamie for the moment, but they're just going to be losing time to Gaming James and Tano up ahead of them. But the Aston able to defend for now. And of course, getting ready to start the last lap now. So how much ERS do these drivers have in the tank? Gaming James might be able to make a little bit of a breakaway now as we do start the final lap of this race. It's 0.6 between the leaders. I think Gaming James is still your net leader. We'll go ahead and switch over to the leader interval. And Fortuna right at the limit there at that 3 seconds. So Gaming James and Tano are going to have to push if they want to try to win. If either of them want to try to win this race. And as they go into the S's, Gaming James building that gap even more. So Gaming James looking to drop the hammer now on this final lap. Of course, as they end Sector 1, that gap sitting right at about 3 seconds with a good run at the exit of the S's for Fortuna. So that gap is right there. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That's for an Alfa Romeo. That's Lurka. Ozen going to receive a 3-second time penalty as well. But the gap from to Fortuna sits at 3.0 seconds. Gaming James, Tano going to be dumping all of that ERS. Gwoon Jamie 4 seconds back. He's still theoretically in it. Jordan giving his teammate a little bit of ERS assistance and is going to let him through. So we potentially a little bit of team orders there for the Aston Martin garage. So who is going to win this race? Is it going to be Gaming James? Is Tano going to be able to find some late pace and get a move done? They're in Sector 3 now, into that triple right-hander, and that gap still at 3 seconds. So here they come, just a couple of corners left to go now. Gaming James seemingly is going to hold off Tano. Just one more corner to go, and he has held off Tano. So Gaming James will cross the line first, but who will win this race? Gaming James finishes first. As they come to the line, it is going to be Gaming James barely winning this race for Williams by 0.03 of a second. It is going to be Gaming James on top. Fortuna will come second. Tano will round out the podium. Gwoon Jamie will finish fourth, followed by Vindovs, Jordan, Lurka, then Ozan, and finally Senna. So hopefully you all enjoyed the race. Definitely see you next time. Of course, we'll wait to see. I'll definitely be sure to grab the race director as well. But definitely an interesting race. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see there. Definitely was good racing from everybody, sans the multiple safety cars caused by one driver, but he will not be returning. Driver of the day goes to Isses Vindovs. But yeah, it is going to be the Brit taking the win. But yeah, there it is. Jordan as well takes that bonus point, but it's Gaming James for Williams, Fortuna, followed by Tano, Going Jamie, Vindovs, Jordan, Lurka, Ozan, Senna, and then Ali finishes 10th, but out of the points due to retirement. So we'll go ahead and grab all those track limits incidents really quickly. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you next weekend as we got our first two rounds. And then, let's see. Yeah, we got Britain next week. So hopefully we'll see you then. Until then, we'll see you. Have a good one.